While he's not making any endorsements in primary season, former President Obama making it clear where he stands. He's warning the Democratic field not to move too far to the left, saying it would alienate too many voters. He told a room full of liberal donors, the average American doesn't think we have to completely tear down the system and remake it. And I think it's important for us not to lose sight of that. Though Obama didn't mention anyone by name, the message clearly was directed at the likes of Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. Joining me now, liberal radio show host Ethan Behrman and Trump 2020 senior legal advisor Jenna Ellis. All right, Ethan, I think this is your wing of the party that President Trump is President Obama rather saying, hey guys, ultimately the goal of the candidate is to win the election.
Yeah, there's no question. President Obama, I think, has a good point that we do need to keep our eye on the ball, which is getting Trump out of office in November 2020. And we need to reach those swing state voters and ensure that they're going to come our way to win the election. And Joe Biden is really the guy. This is his indirect endorsement, by the way, of Joe Biden by saying this, who looks like he is going to pull ahead. The South Carolina polls are looking great. New Hampshire is looking good for Joe Biden. He's looking strong on the trail and reinforcing what 8 years of Obama's presidency did with the Affordable Care Act to ensure, unlike the Republicans, that Americans actually have affordable access to health care.
Jenna, it is interesting, though, that this warning will come from President Obama, considering the many speeches he gave. In fact, in one of them in Atlanta a few years ago, part of it that struck me was it says, for most of this country's history, we in the African-American community have been at the receiving end of man's inhumanity to man, and all of us understand intimately the insidious role of race still sometimes plays in the job and schools and our healthcare system and our criminal justice system. The word system used twice there. He's used it in a lot of other times, too. I mean, he was a president who ran on the idea of tearing up the system and rebuilding it.
Right. And so, Charles, I had a couple of reactions to this from President Obama. The first was, like Ethan said, I think it is an implicit endorsement of Joe Biden, and we'll see how that works for him. But second, this is really hollow coming from President Obama, whose 8 years in office ushered in the worst progressive leftist era that did tear down the rule of law. He was so far outside the margins of the U.S. Constitution. I mean, that's what's being challenged right now in the Supreme Court is his DACA proposal that should have gone through Congress. Congress has the power of immigration law, not the executive branch. I mean, there's so many things that Obama did that now that is arguably giving rise to the legitimacy and even for the Democratic Party to even question and look at the likes of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. So this is a little bit ridiculously hypocritical of Obama. But third, I think he should vote for President Trump, clearly, because he doesn't want his party to go so far leftist. So, hey, President Obama, we'd love to have you as a Trump supporter.
There's no doubt that the pull to the left has been significant, and it will be a lot more left, perhaps, no matter who wins the nomination. I also do want to get you guys to respond to this, that former New York City Mayor Mike Bloomberg apologizing for his support of Stop and Frisk. Ethan, the move seems, in my mind, to underscore two things here, that no Democrat can win a nomination without black voters, and Michael Bloomberg seems like he's definitely going to get into the race at this point. What do you think?
Well, I think he is definitely putting the feelers out there. And for this apology, I mean, it almost seals the deal that he's going to jump into the race. It's really interesting, though. I have tremendous respect for Mayor Bloomberg. I think he does a lot of wonderful things and leads on the environment. And he helped lead the charge to defeat the Republicans in the NRA in Virginia. And that's something he can definitely hang his hat on. So what the problem here is the Stop and Frisk, according to the police themselves, the Police Benevolent Association came out and said this was a mistake in the first place. He should have listened to the cops on the street, that this was causing a wedge between the police and the communities. And it's really important that Mayor Bloomberg came out and made this apology now. And you're right, this means he's jumping in.
So, Jenna, some people may think it's too little too late, but I think the point that was brought up that the police department themselves said it's not a good idea, but Mayor Bloomberg perhaps is a billionaire's trait, thinking he knew better than even the policemen who had to police the streets of New York City.
Well, unfortunately for Bloomberg, I think it is too little too late, and it shows the hypocrisy of politicking that he's only apologizing now for something because he wants to win over voters rather than sticking to what he might have believed and may still believe is genuinely good policy. I mean, he was even endorsing this as recently as January. And so, even if we disagree on politics, at least have the guts to stand up for what you believe. And so I don't think that Bloomberg is winning any favors for his credibility here. So I don't think it's going to serve him well. But one last comment, Ethan, congratulations on passing the bar. Welcome to the profession.
Wow, I didn't know that. Congratulations, Ethan.
Thank you, Jenna. Thanks, Charles.
And thank you both for being on. We're going to have a lot to discuss, so appreciate it, Ethan and Jenna.